So I don't know if you guys have been following this little jousting match. We've got Brett Favre suing Pat McAfee, and now Brett Favre's lawyer going on Jason Whitlock's podcast and saying that he wants to bankrupt Pat McAfee. And people are pointing out that whatever McAfee said, he used the words allegedly. And if you actually go back and watch the clips, he was using the words allegedly. I don't know if you guys have been following the jousting match between Brett Favre and Pat McAfee, but Brett Favre comes out last week. It goes public that he's suing Pat McAfee for defamation, and now Brett Favre's lawyer wants to bankrupt Pat McAfee. It's going to cost Pat McAfee millions of dollars, and if it bankrupts him, then he will have learned his lesson this coming on Jason Whitlock's podcast called Fearless. So Jason Whitlock, I think Jason Whitlock just announced he was running in the Republican primary. No, I'm just kidding. But just looking at this, defamation claim, I'm always going to be on the side of being able to say whatever you want. Obviously, there reaches a certain point to where, if it does get to the line where you're lying about someone and you're really defaming their character and costing them money and giving them a negative image, it's a problem. But people were saying, if you actually go back to the clip of Pat McAfee, he said, the word allegedly. He was careful about it, although he did go in on Brett Favre and really hit him. I think that's probably why he's doing it overall. To me, it's a bad look for Brett Favre. We'll see what ends up coming of it. NFL Films caught clear video of the controversial Super Bowl penalty. And guys, when it comes to this, I think, if you want to slow it down, real slow-mo, yes, he grabbed him. But if we're actually going to put it in the context of, the football game, what happened, how there were no holding calls throughout the entire game until that play, you've got to let him play. I'm a Browns fan. I'm not a fan of either of these teams. And it was a pretty weak call based on the context, based on how the game was being called overall. And the second that they threw that flag, I said out loud, this game is over. There was 1:40 left, and it was, a very close game. And the game was over because the Chiefs just ran it down, kicked a field goal, basically a walk-off 20-yard field goal. And it was very hard to see that game end this way. It was such a great game throughout, and it just kind of ended with a whimper there. So, it looked like you want to slow it down. Yeah, he grabs him, but if you add the context and everything, it's a really weak call. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And then how about this one? We've got a new mock draft with Anthony Richardson going number 1 overall. I've heard a lot. There's been some serious Anthony Richardson hype. He's really raw, so I don't think he's going to go number 1 overall. But just looking through all the different mocks, the one trend I will say, a lot of people expect the Colts to trade up from 4 to 1 and get a quarterback. Now, what quarterback is that? Nobody knows. We haven't even reached the combine, but this is kind of a more rare type mock, and it does have Richardson going 1, Bryce Young 2, Jalen Carter at number 3. So guys, the whole thing with Jalen Carter, there was a study that was done. Any defensive lineman that has had 0 double-digit tackle for loss seasons in college, which I believe is what Jalen Carter is looking at, is a bust in the NFL. And I think Jalen Carter, I'm not going to say he's Trayvon Walker 2.0 because he's more of an interior guy, but it's another situation. There's just such a lack of production, Maybe Arizona runs a 3-4. I think, if you run a 3-4, I would probably rather take Jalen Carter over Will Anderson. But if you're running a 4-3 and you're taking Jalen Carter over Will Anderson, you're crazy. Will Anderson is just so much more productive. I know they're technically different positions, defensive tackle versus edge rusher, but Jalen Carter, I said the exact same thing with Trayvon Walker last year. There's just simply not enough production to justify a top 5 pick, to justify taking Jalen Carter over Will Anderson. You've got Will Levis going at number 5, so Carolina trading up to number 5 and taking Will Levis in front of C.J. Stroud. Oh my goodness. You've got the Baltimore Ravens, I'm guessing, trading Lamar Jackson in this mock draft and going ahead. I mean, look at this. How about Green Bay getting the 7th pick? So Green Bay in this mock draft, Green Bay trades Aaron Rodgers for the number 7 pick. They take Tyree Wilson, so they're rolling with Jordan Love. And then the Ravens trade Lamar Jackson away to the Atlanta Falcons, who have the 8th pick. Kalijah Kancey has moved up boards that much? That surprises me. Maybe this is just a weird mock. I don't know. Paris Johnson Jr., he seems like a great fit for Tennessee, depending on what they do. Although there's hints that Ryan Tannehill will be back with Tennessee. You've got to feel bad for some of these fan bases that just go through quarterback after quarterback after. Well, I guess Tennessee hasn't, but I mean, Ryan Tannehill is just not good enough. Like, I don't know what to tell you now. I guess you can stick with him because there's no better options, but it's got to be demoralizing. I mean, think about what Indianapolis is the team. I know they had Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, but if you look at their last 3 years, who did they have? They had Phillip Rivers, out of his prime. They had Carson Wentz, and they had Matt Ryan. Oh my God. Carson Wentz actually had a very good year with them, but it's just like mediocre quarterback purgatory. Jordan Addison's a superstar. Absolutely. Peter Saransky, it's looking like if the Jets can't trade for Aaron Rodgers, they're going to go with Peter Saransky. Quentin Johnston, I'm not the biggest fan of Quentin Johnston. Luke Musgrave, I like Dalton Kincaid better. Cam Smith is a good corner. Joey Porter Jr. is a good corner. Ooh, wow. Jalen Duncan, the huge offensive tackle from Maryland, right there. Jalen Height, there's no way well, maybe to stretch the defense, I guess you want to take him. Brian Branch falling to 24. Bijan Robinson is going way higher than that. Way higher than that. I've heard Brian Breezy could fall to the 2nd round based on his medicals. Zay Flowers. Yeah, Miles Murphy. I knew Miles Murphy was ranked way too high to begin with. Ringo, he's probably going to go in the 1st round based off his overall numbers. Dude, we've got to stop this trend in sports where these teams, they degrade themselves to oh my God, no one believed in us. How is that even a motivation? You should just be motivated to play anyways. Brittany Mahomes never forgot ex-NFL star Bart Scott's Chiefs predictions in the offseason. Oh my goodness, did Bart Scott say the Chiefs were going to go 6-11? The world's going to explode. But no, because Bart Scott said the Chiefs were going to go 6-11, that made Patrick Mahomes play harder, and that made the Chiefs, come on. I mean, I think Travis Kelce was trolling, at least I hope he was. But during the parade, he was all drunk, and he was like, nobody thought we were going to make the playoffs. It's dude, why do teams... It's the same thing Georgia football did. You have Georgia players after the national championship when the schedule that Georgia had last year, worst case scenario, they were going to lose 2 games. Absolute worst case scenario. They end up going 15-0. But the players after the game, they were the media was predicting us to go 5-7. Dude... What is this whole thing where teams the Chiefs are everyone doubted us? Why is that even a rallying cry? Well, it's just a weird thing that's happening in sports, especially in football, with college and the NFL, where it's these teams trick themselves and they're oh, that's bulletin board material. I mean, is that really that big of a motivator to where we have to argue which one of our teams was more disrespected? You've got Chiefs fans arguing and trying to find clips of an analyst saying, oh, because they lost Tyreek Hill, they're not going to, who cares? It's just stupid to me. 5 NFL teams poised to take a major fall in 2023. Vikings, Seahawks, among those primed for regression. I am not going to take my ad blocker off, but see, look at this. It's going to autoplay. Dude, why are you autoplay? See, dude, these sites, it makes no sense. I want to go to your website to read. I don't go to a website to consume video content. If I want to consume videos, I will go to YouTube. I'm sure. What is with every sports website? It's an auto player, automatically an auto player. And it's 50 different pop-ups too. And it's, oh, disable your ad blocker. I mean, there's got to be a better way to do this. But teams poised for regression, yes, the Minnesota Vikings, absolutely. Yes, Tennessee, they were lucky to even go 7-10. And honestly, going 7-10 hurt Tennessee. They would have been much better off winning 4 games, putting themselves in position to get a franchise quarterback. Now they're screwed. Maybe Malik Willis takes a step forward, but that's a huge if. That's a huge maybe. Seattle, I agree 100%. Like, Geno Smith had one of the weirdest seasons I've ever seen in my life. He's a declared bust for a decade, comes out of nowhere and has a top 6 season. Is he really going to replicate that? And then Tampa Bay, I mean, obviously because of Tom Brady, I don't think Vegas regresses from 6-11 unless they get some rookie and start like Will Levis the entire season. I don't think they're going to get worse than 6-11. They have a lot of talent on that team, and hopefully Darren Waller is healthy. Hopefully Hunter Renfrow is healthy. But guys, you know what? We'll also take a look at this. Ranking the top 25 offensive players with quarterbacks tanking the top 5 spots. So these are the top 20. Odell Beckham Jr. So Odell Beckham, is he ranked 25th, or is that how many offseason workouts he's going to have? I mean, dude, I would not. Listen, I don't have anything against Odell Beckham. There is 0% chance, even if Odell Beckham wants to come to my team, 0% chance I'm taking Odell Beckham. He does way more harm than he does good in the locker room. I'm not dealing with the circus. I'm just not dealing with it. Miles Sanders at 23. We'll see what happens with Miles Sanders. It's tough for running backs this year. Jacoby Brissett is a really good backup. Juju Smith-Schuster, He kind of had a real disappointing year with Mahomes. He did. Jacoby Myers is an underrated receiver. I'm guessing Saquon Barkley goes back to the Giants on a 4-year deal. Saquon, dude, if I'm Saquon Barkley, I am telling the Giants, you better not franchise tag me. I was finally healthy this year. I'm a running back. I want my long-term deal. I am not playing under a 1-year franchise tag. No way. If you're Saquon Barkley and his agent, you have to say that. Dalton Schultz, that's a quality tight end. He's only 27. Evan Ingram, he had a very nice year with Jacksonville. I wonder if Jacksonville tries to bring him back. But Jacksonville really messed up their team by giving a bunch of money last year to, I mean, they gave out so much money to like mediocre players. Tony Pollard probably going to get franchise tagged by the Cowboys. I think it was reported he already did maybe. Josh Jacobs, dude, I am not touching Josh Jacobs with a 10-foot pole. Josh Jacobs has a career year. He gets run into the ground. Do not sign Josh Jacobs. It's going to be a waste of money. Orlando Brown had a really bad year, but a really good playoffs. Geno Smith at number 5. He'll probably re-sign with Seattle on a 3-year deal. Jimmy Garoppolo, no thanks. He's an average quarterback. He'll probably sign with the Saints. I don't know. Derek Carr at number 3. Daniel Jones, probably going back to the Giants. I'm guessing the Giants will franchise tag Daniel Jones. If I'm the Giants, that's what I'm doing. I need Daniel Jones to go out and prove it, but I also need to get Daniel Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, or an elite tight end, or both, because he needs some actual weapons. And then Lamar Jackson, who is either going to be re-signing with Baltimore or he'll be franchise tagged by Baltimore and traded. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.